I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Debbie, here with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who makes a feature directorial debut with The Lost Daughter, which she adapted from the Elena Ferrante novel. Maggie, The Lost Daughter is fascinating because it contemplates maternity in a really honest and sometimes confronting way, particularly the complicated relationships between mothers and daughters. Why did you want to bring those themes explored in the novel to life on screen?
Well, I think that there's something inherently dramatic about telling the truth, but maybe particularly about telling the truth about something that's been taboo. Like that is dramatic. And when I read her novels, not just The Lost Daughter, but I read a few of her novels before that, actually. And I felt like she was talking about things so honestly that we as a culture have agreed not to talk about. And she just broke the agreement, without anyone's permission. And I found it really exhilarating. And I also found it disturbing. And I also ultimately found it comforting, to know I'm not the only person who has these feelings, and not just about mothering, I think, but about in general being a woman in the world, as a lover, as a thinker, as an artist, and yes, as a mother. And for me anyway, my identity as a mother is a huge part of my sense of who I am. And this like fantasy version of how we're supposed to feel about it, I found really limiting.
Yeah, even as a father, I found so much of this quite recognizable and relatable. But at first I was like, oh, this is just so foreign. And then I realized no, it's actually not at all. And yeah, it's a really unsettling experience at first when you're seeing this film. I think a lot of this has to do with how you let the film breathe a little. Well, I felt completely immersed in the different timelines as I started to piece together what Leda was carrying: guilt, regret, apathy. And I love how you often deployed these close-ups where the slightest glimmer in the eye conveyed just more than words could possibly say. What led you to take those choices in framing the film in this way?
Well, it's sort of so much of the way I thought about shooting it had to do with what the film is about, what the scene is about. I mean, like you say, there's very little in the movie that's literal. I don't like movies personally, like my taste, and also my taste as an actress for 20 years. I don't like when the purpose, the reason that the scene is in the film is articulated in the scene. I like it when it's impossible to articulate. And in fact, it's a vibrating of what this person needs and what this person needs together, as well as the way it's expressed cinematically, that then tells you, oh, maybe it's about this. Maybe they can get into sort of the nooks and crannies of your mind then, as opposed to just being a kind of literal explanation of something. So why the close-ups? I mean, it's interesting because when I was first cutting the film and I showed the film to a few people, we were cutting in the pandemic, so we never had a screening. I never saw the film with an audience until we were at Venice, which I just think is like, so the whole thing was this kind of like fairy tale dramatic vibe to it. But before that, we showed it just to, my editor and I, to people who we respect and who we thought would be picking up what we were putting down, and a couple of people said to me, there's so many close-ups. I want you to pull back. I want to see where I am, especially in the beginning. And I looked at the film with that in mind, because these were people who I really respected. And I looked and I was like, big wide shot. Look, another big wide shot. Look, another big wide shot.
Heaps.
They're all over the place. But
yeah.
I think somehow it isn't how it's perceived. I think because the move through the movie is the movie is a thriller. Yes. The who done it? Are they going to find out what's going to happen? Yes. But that is not the interesting way through the movie. The interesting way through the movie is her mind. So we also have to signify to the audience, if you want to get on the train of the roller coaster, whatever, of our film, you got to get in her mind. And so cinematically, I guess, or like aesthetically, one thing I just figured out how to articulate the other day is, in the beginning, when there's a lot of her watching this family, and we use a very classic cinematic style, kind of like classic thriller, 60s, 70s type of thing. But so if you're watching, you see Olivia Colman's face and you see Dakota Johnson across the beach, and you understand spatially that they're 50 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
Then if you then jump so close on Dakota or on the doll or on her daughter that you can literally see the water on her skin, what it tells you unconsciously as an audience is we are in this woman's mind. There's no way that Olivia Colman would be able to see the droplets of water on Dakota's neck. This is both part reality and part fantasy. And so, for example, that was one reason I used close up. Another one that I because some of it is unconscious and you're just there and you're going, this is beautiful. And this is telling the story.
Yeah.
Tell. But another like kind of intellectual thing I was thinking about was, Dakota's character, Nina, is observed for the first third of the movie. She's just being observed. She doesn't speak, except for what you kind of hear in the background from across the beach. And I was thinking about like really, really compelling versions of women being observed, not the stupid ones, not the whatever, objectified Victoria's Secret bullshit, but like the real, like Antonioni observing Monica Vitti, or Godard observing, Anna Brennan, and, these incredible women that, you watch those movies and you're like, I am compelled. I want to eat them. I want to touch them. I want to wear their sweater. I want to cut my hair like them, And I was thinking like, I'm interested in that language. It is very male. It is very traditional. And so then I wondered what happens if a character is framed that way, presented that way, everyone's sort of used to that language. And then all of a sudden she like bursts into the frame and has need and hunger and humanity and desire. And so like one of the first times Dakota speaks, we're like so close on her. And I hope it does feel like she kind of cracked out of something old, but beautiful, and into who knows what,
Absolutely. Oh, it's so fascinating. I'm so glad you said that, because the first half an hour, 45 minutes, a lot of it is us observing, Leda observing others.
Right.
And like that could have just been such a distant thing for us as the audience, but I honestly really did feel like I didn't know what she was doing, because we still hadn't gotten to the reveals of stuff about her past, but I was so deeply fascinated. And you're right, when we start to close up to the people she's observing, it made me feel like I was just not there, because that sounds a bit cliche, but just kind of understanding what her mind was going through. It's a really fascinating way that you did it. I really appreciated the way that you thought that through, and the close-ups are so important, particularly when you're dealing with actors like Olivia, Jessie. Those glimmers in the eye are intentional. I was actually also wondering, given that the cast you've assembled is so beautiful and they give great, authentic, honest performances, Olivia, Dakota, Jessie, Paul, Dagmara, Oliver, Ed, and of course Peter, which I think you might have heard of him. It seems like an obvious question, but your experience as an actor for decades, how does it impact your ability to really kind of hone in on honesty and authenticity when you're dealing with actors?
Well, I mean, that was the greatest pleasure. I mean, actually, no, to be honest, the real greatest pleasure was in the editing room. I was
Yeah.
like, I realized the other day, I'm going to talk to you about my actors because I love them and they're amazing. But I just realized the other day, do you ever have that dream? I think it's kind of a common dream where you're like living in an apartment, and then you dream that all of a sudden you open a door and there's like a whole nother room in your apartment.
Yes.
That dream.
You're like,
That's how
okay.
it felt to me getting into the editing room. I was like, I have wanted to be here my whole life, and
Wow.
I don't have to write like a 3-paragraph essay about why this shot can't be in or this shot must be in. I'm just here. I can do what I want. But
Yeah.
okay, my actors. I mean, I absolutely think that my 20 years of experience as an actress, it was the biggest gift. I mean, in every way, making this film, it was like a very interesting, unusual kind of film school. But particularly with my actors, I have worked with I've worked with directors who are brutal and who are not interested in collaborating with me. And you're professional, you figure out how to do it, but it's
Yeah.
horrible. And I have worked now and then with directors who are really full of love and curiosity and respect. And there's no question that my work as an actress that's worth watching is with those directors, and
Yeah.
and there's all different ways of doing that. But I did definitely feel like if you hire people who you're actually curious about and who you actually respect, then a huge part of my job was to love them, like actually love them and take care of them. It's really, really vulnerable being an actor, no matter what you're doing. And I think it's hard to really even know how vulnerable until you've
Yeah.
been, and so the pleasure, I mean, you can imagine, like, we actually did love each other. I actually did take care of the work that they offered me in the editing room and on the set. And that was a huge part of my job. And you know what, if you love people and they're a good match with what they're doing, and by a good match, I mean that it's a little bit outside of what they know about themselves.
Yeah.
That like, in order to play this part, this is what I've always thought as an actress, in order to play this part, I will need to move or grow in some way in order to do it well. Then you're watching somebody actually learning something on film instead of watching someone pretend like they're learning something. And really that doesn't, it's hard to have that happen if you're not cared for. So that was a real pleasure in my job. And also, I'm an actress and I believe in collaboration, and I believe in collaboration in every department. But you're asking me about the actors, and I just felt like as an actress, I read this thing that Meryl Streep said. Well, I don't know if she did, but I read that she said it, that if you have an idea as an actress that you need in order to do your work, offer it up with a spoonful of sugar. And it's a really good note, and I definitely took that to heart, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of wasted work. And to me, I just wanted a set where nobody had to bother with that. Just bring it and come and feel free, and I'll maneuver and shift and offer things that I think will bring life into the picture and push them. And it was such a pleasure to watch them. I mean, so because it was collaborative like that, there was almost not a take that I wasn't surprised and inspired by what these incredible actors were bringing.
Then you got to do the Sophie's Choice, using the Meryl Streep analogy to pick the right one. What you're saying is actually so pertinent for anyone in a leadership role. You create a space that's safe and loving and inclusive, and people bring their best. I just don't know why everyone doesn't do it. It seems like a no-brainer. Yeah. So I was also
totally
thinking,
agree with you. I mean, I agree. It's true for everything. It's true for parenting.
yeah,
It's true for, I'm sure it's true in every professional situation.
absolutely is. Um, I was reading an interview with Elena, the author Elena Ferrante, in the New Statesman, and she,
Yesterday.
yeah. So I'm quoting. She says, Gyllenhaal makes true cinema. She trusts the images. There's no voiceover to help the story along. The dialogue is elusive. The gestures are charged, even if merely hinted at. The flashes of the past in the present are convincing. Like, I could not have said it better myself. That's what really stuck with me about the film. What does that mean to you when you hear her say that?
I read that piece yesterday. Ferrante is anonymous, so I've never talked to her. There's one thing she said in there early in the beginning. She said, she wrote me a letter. She said, but it wasn't enough. She said, it turns out, to start an epistolary relationship, like writing letters together. And I felt like, oh man, I should have written to her more, but I felt so much pressure writing to her because I have so much respect for her, because I think she's incredibly wise, incredibly truthful. She was a North Star for me. Her book and the couple of interactions that we had via email or in The Guardian when I was working, and then this article. So I just had to do a Zoom interview like this. And when I got finished, someone said, you should read the New Statesman. And I went out on the terrace and I read it. And I was just standing there reading this piece from this woman that I've been having this kind of imaginary, but not exactly, interaction with for 4 years, really. And I felt really, really seen. I felt like she saw, she calls out these 2 moments in the movie that were mine, that weren't in the book. She writes about the moment where Jesse says, I hate talking to my kids on the phone.
Yes.
And also the thing where Olivia says in the reveal with Dakota, she says, it felt amazing. And those are very, very complicated moments. They don't mean at all what they seem to mean on the surface. They're extremely, they require a kind of listening and a kind of understanding and compassion for these characters, for ourselves, that takes some effort. And she basically was saying, I heard you, I understand you. And I felt like she was saying, oh man, I mean, to be in this conversation with her and be keeping up and be adding my own element and her to feel it's valuable. I don't know what else I could possibly ask for,
I think you got that's the prize. I mean,
yeah.
Absolutely. Just when you brought up the reveal, and I'm trying not to spoil too much. I mean, anyone who's watching this, if you haven't seen the film yet, obviously it hasn't been released yet as we record this. Please watch it first, then come back. But when Leda makes that very subtle reveal about it being amazing, it was like a punch in the gut to my wife and I, because it's something that we all know very well. But of course, how could you possibly feel that way? And then that really, really impacts us at the end, which I won't spoil at all, but that took me a moment to understand what was happening. And then, it's really, I mean, you created this, so it's maybe hard for you to be too subjective about it, or objective, I should say. But I mean, does it resonate with you personally when you watch it from a distance?
Yeah. I mean, well, particularly because, for example, those moments we were just talking about, but many other moments, say like Dakota coming up to Olivia when she first gets to speak and saying, I like your bathing suit, which really means 40,000 other things. So to me, I wanted to create a space where all of those 40,000 things could live. And so, yeah, so Olivia says about something incredibly painful that's caused so much pain, a choice she made that caused so much pain to her and to the people she loves that it's almost unbearable. She says it felt amazing. So it isn't just straight up, literally, this felt amazing. It's that combined with having watched a woman for almost the entire film who's in incredible agony. It's a combination, and so to me, I see often when I watch my actors, when I watch the work of my cinematographer, when I see, choices we made in the editing room that like vibrate that way off each other, I see them in new ways. I love, so like, for example, going from this very emotional, quiet scene that we're talking about to like, to like the horror movie
Oh my God.
that comes after it. I love those things next to each other because you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. I can't get settled. And I love that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt that way too. Like, we've kind of run out of time, but there's a whole part of the film where I was immersed in this. It was like a trigger for me because you're on a summer holiday from hell because people are so rude and inconsiderate and abusive, and we've all experienced it. And I just that was also so jarring. While we're also dealing with some very profound stuff that you're trying to present to us, we're also dealing with memory and how we fixate on memory and how it impacts and I guess informs our behavior and our mindset. So there's so much going on here, and you're able to distill it in a really simple, I think, and digestible, recognizable way. So on that note, Maggie, I mean, I know that at the recent Gotham Awards, which kicks off award season, you won in 3 categories. You won at Venice, best first film at NY Film Critics. So the film's picking up steam. People are really starting to respond to it. So my final question is, what does that kind of recognition mean to you for your first film? I mean, that's a really impressive achievement.
Well, Olivia Colman says we're not allowed to talk about awards, that it's very bad luck. She just like stops everyone, no more. But I mean, this is I know who my interviewer is. I think I had such a great time at the Gotham Awards. It was like trippy. It's my home and my people. I knew so many people there. I was so nervous before I went for some reason. And then I walk in and I know so many of these people. They're my colleagues. They're my friends. They're my peers. In so many ways, of course, yes, this is my first film. And also in so many ways, it isn't. I've made a lot of films inside of this community and learned so much. What I hope is that the awards really, for people who never heard of Ferrante, who are like, what, that's not my thing at all, that women, dads, people with very difficult mothers, which is kind of everybody, get interested in seeing this movie, which might offer like a kind of like hot comfort, because I do think these are things that it would be helpful to everyone to just think and talk about.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to see more from your long career and repertoire as a filmmaker, Maggie. Thank you for the film. It means a lot to me and a lot of other people. And good luck on the award season. We won't talk about it. We won't jinx it. But Gold Derby, we're obsessed with awards, and we have a feeling that we're going to see more of you on red carpets.
Thank you.